All right. Well, now that I'm addled, Lisa, now that I'm in this mode after playing with Zoom for the last 35 seconds and I'm mildly frustrated, Lisa Marshall intro needs no introduction, but Lisa Marshall, Berkshire School. Lisa, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to work with us. This is part of our VHG education series. So we do videos like this to
Cool.
educate players on prep schools and colleges and so on. I know you're heading to Florida tomorrow. Where are you going tomorrow?
I'm actually going to Palm Beach for some admissions work.
Ah, that's what they call it now, hey? Admissions
Yeah,
work?
for sure. Definitely, definitely. But there is going to be, I just saw Gretzky's going to build a new rink down there. So I'm eager to check that out in the next couple of years.
I would say it'll rival something like the Advent Health Center, which was in Wesley Chapel, which brings me to my next question. You had a client down at the U.S. Nationals playing as a double underager in the 16U division, Katie Hurley, class of 2027. Talk a little bit about Katie and the season that she had with the Bears.
Sure. She was actually one of a couple of Berkshire Bears that were down at Nationals. And so she had a great freshman year for us, came in and certainly was put in some positions to really work hard and gain some ice time. And she did a great job. We loved her and we're really excited to have her back next year as well.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Finally, now I can actually see myself talking. I don't, I was like, am I actually shown in this video? Like, what is going on here? Either
Yeah,
way.
should we just start over?
Yeah, we do.
All right,
We
buddy.
need more time. We need more time. Do you need
All
more
right,
time?
I'm ready.
So, yeah, Katie, very interesting player. I think is a player that Hockey Canada, if you were watching this video, is a player you have to put on watch list for that '09 class. I think she's one of the better goaltenders in probably in North America for her age. But if she continues to develop, of course, she has to continue to grow and continue to work on a lot of parts of her game. It's very early in the process. So don't want to jump the gun on that, but I still believe that people have to monitor her this year, being a potential early signee in the D1 next year. Now let's drive up the I-95. Let's take it for right from South Florida up the 95 to Virginia, home of Lisa Marshall. How on earth did you get so involved in hockey, being from a state that's not traditionally known? It's only known Virginia's for lovers.
For sure. And most successful state slogan. However, dad's Canadian. Didn't matter where I grew up. I was going to play hockey and grew up, loving the game right away. And then I do have an older brother. So he was a big influence of me playing hockey as well.
Okay, and you grew up played high school, or where did you like talk a little bit about your hockey background?
For sure. So I was super fortunate that so I played boys hockey down in Virginia and then played a little bit up in Rockville, Maryland, through the Montgomery Blue Devils program. That was the first time I was playing girls hockey. It was quite a trip for my family. They were driving about 3.5 hours for me to get to practice one way. And so then a coach there suggested I look at boarding school and was put in touch with a coach who needed a goalie. I was a goalie, and fortunately, it all worked out. So I went to Exeter in New Hampshire for 3 years. I was there for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And then from there, had a bit of a journey. I committed Division One, played for Wayne State, and then unfortunately they folded the program. And so from there, I decided to transfer to Elmira College and had a great 3 year experience there. Loved it, every second of it. So that's the college, that's the playing piece. And then right out of college, decided I was gonna coach. Was super fortunate. I got a Division One job right away at RIT in Rochester, New York. Go Tigers! And then wanted to give Big Ten a try and was lucky to land the job at Penn State. And so I did that for a bit as well, but ultimately wanted to be a prep school head coach. So I was at one other prep school and then have now landed at Berkshire. This is year 6 under the mountain, and absolutely love it.
So a little story of me driving to Berkshire. So I was down visiting clients in New England. I left Boston about 4 o'clock in the morning to drive down to watch somebody play at we're not St. Anselm. I was at Sacred Heart. Beautiful new rink. So I
Love
drove
it.
this about 4 hours or so. So we get down. So I'm in Southern Connecticut at this time. After the game, I watch another game with the client. and we drive up to, I drive through Connecticut, I drive up to Berkshire, probably about 2.5 hours. So this is about 6.5 hours of driving now. And I'm driving through and I'm seeing like burn, random mountain, trees. It almost feels like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And then all of a sudden, out of the trees comes this absolutely spectacular school underneath the mountain, like you mentioned. Talk a little bit about campus, its history, and just overall, like the work that's done there. It's like something absolutely beautiful. The grass, I believe in like a 5-second rule. At this school, I feel like I could go with a minute rule.
Okay, I mean, do your thing, build the biome. So Berkshire, it's a magical place. And not to sound too hippy dippy, but like it really supports the kids in every aspect of who they are and who they want to become. So hockey is definitely for a lot of the kids that I work with, it's a huge part of where they would like to go. But then from there as well, like the education's tremendous. And there's access to, weight rooms on campus and different coaches, strength and conditioning. They're encouraged to try other sports as well to work on their overall athleticism. Katie Hurley just tried a long jump in a meet on Saturday, and I think she got second place. So she might have a future in that too. We'll see. But it's really good cross training. But the kids have access to anything they need to get to where they want to be.
And that brings me to my next point. Actually, that's a good segue where you mentioned that hockey players who are at school to play hockey are trying long jump and are trying track and field and trying other sports that they normally wouldn't play. Some programs, I would call them like hockey academies. You just play hockey all year. You don't really get to become a more well-rounded athlete. Just talk about the NEPSAC and how that works.
Sure. So in New England, that is really a model that prep schools believe in, where it's kind of segmented of fall, winter, and spring, where kids can have access to try a different sport. In the fall, maybe it's soccer, maybe it's field hockey, and then hockey is certainly the winter sport. There are other options for other kids who have different interests, and then from there, spring could be track and field. You can have strength and conditioning as an upperclassman, things like that, as you sort of get more specialized and focused on the next step of potentially college athletics. And so it's really special. Where at first, kids can navigate trying something new, and high school is a good time to fail at something. Pick it up, maybe find a new passion. Cross training again of just it's important to just become a well-rounded athlete. And then from there too, there is access to the ice. So the ice goes down in the fall. The kids can skate. We have different coaches come in. We can do goalie world. So they're certainly still working on their game, but they're playing more of a schedule that follows NCAA, where they'll play 2 games a week in the winter, get around 30 games, and then 4 practices a week when it's winter as well.
So when I heard Goalie World, when you mentioned Goalie World, what's going through my mind as being a kid born in the 80s, I'm thinking Wayne's World Party Time, excellent. I feel like Mike Myers is just going to pop out, like he's going to pop through the back door right now. Austin Powers, for those of you who might be more familiar with him in the 90s. What is Goalie World? Just talk a little bit about it. If I'm a prospective goaltender looking for a place to play, talk about your Goalie World.
Of course. Well, with every kind of player, whether it's power skating or something, I'm obviously a little bit biased where I think goalies need special attention too. And so I can run the goalie world. That was a big part of my college background too, of helping train goalies as an assistant coach with those 2 programs. And so I'll bring goalie world to different, we'll have different shooters, different stations. And it usually happens at about 6:30 in the morning. So before school even starts, kids can get out on the ice, really get some good work in, and get that special attention that goalies really need and deserve. So it's good.
Oh, you guys are special, all right.
Yes, we are.
No question. I think, okay, every goaltender is unique. I think if you're willing to get in front of a 85, 90, 95 mile an hour clapper, you have to have a certain mentality and a certain mindset. What type of person do you think that you have to be, Lisa, to be an elite goaltender at the top of your game? Like, if you're looking at PWHL goalies, and you've worked with some, you're looking at players that have played at the highest level. What qualities do you think a goalie needs to have, especially mentally, to be really good?
Sure. I think there's like this kind of intangible it factor that really, really good goalies have. We all have unique personalities. We're what make the hockey teams really fun and interesting. But then from there too, I just think this like untangible, like just being unflappable. Of you got to have a quick memory, but it's got to get got to get under your skin when you get scored on, but then it can't get into your head. So just quickly trying to understand what you did and being really coachable to fix any of those little issues. But then ultimately, yeah, it's just the love of being that difference maker is really important with elite goaltenders.
I was having a conversation with one of our staff members of work today. I was actually a co-owner, and we were talking about some things that are underutilized as hockey players. Like when you're trying to make it to the next level, three things would be a nutritionist,
Mm-hmm.
a mental skills coach, and somebody that's in your corner, whether it be an advisor or an old coach or a friend that's involved in the game that's connected to the networks of hockey that can advocate for you being a good player versus mom and dad just sending emails to schools.
Right.
And the nutrition piece is so important. I mean, players, oh, I want to put on 5 pounds in the offseason. Well, I lost 5. Why? Well, I was on the ice 15 times a week. That's not helping you. You need you need to have an idea and a game plan and the mental skills. I think when you mention to players, oh, you can definitely use a mental skills coach. It's like you're insulting them. Oh, you think I'm crazy? Like, no.
Right.
It's something that like you look at the best athletes, the best players, they have somebody there that when they're in a slump that they want to talk to them. Like you look at Nate McKinnon, the last couple of years, he's had somebody there and
Right.
his seasons have been unbelievable the past couple of years. He is like on another planet right now. And I think part of that is because he's just dialed in mentally and he has somebody there, even just someone to vent to after you had some issues with something or something's not going your way, you're in a slump. Well, I can talk to that person or things are going real well. How do I keep an even keel? I don't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low, as a former coach used to say to me. I stole that one a few times, the old captain cliche over here. So,
I've
uh,
said it a few times this season for sure.
yeah, well, actually, let's dive into your season overall. You guys, you had some players out for a little while. I think that probably hurt your like your start of your year when you lose players early on. It was hard to get into the groove, but the second half was much better. Let you dive in.
For sure. It was, we were looking like the New Jersey Devils earlier this year, where at one point we had, I think, 6 or 7 kids out of the roster. And so that was something that our games we were sticking with people, and then the third period, if we had a much shorter bench than other, some of our opponents, we just sort of ran out of gas. We led our season in games by 1 goal decision, with 10 this year. So that's, definitely our goal deficit went down, and Katie Hurley was certainly a big part of that. But I think our kids really, like being an optimist of it gave some of our younger players, some of our, like we had 2 or 3 seniors who, sustained injury, were out for a bit. It gave some of our younger players an opportunity to get in and really log some crucial minutes. So I think it'll pay dividends in terms of the program. And, thankfully our seniors were all, I think we had 2 games at the end of the year where all 6 of our seniors were in the lineup, and that was including their senior game. So it was definitely, a moment where a lot of life lessons were taught, but kids just kind of developed a grit for hockey too. And we're not going to play a game. We're going to uh, get ourselves together and really compete.
And when you have a good second half too, it leads into the next season. I know the next season is a ways away. You don't start your season until roughly end of November, Thanksgiving weekend, but it's like it gives you that reason for optimism. You're like, you know what? We've got, like you said, the better younger players have played. They've got some experience at NEPSAC level. Hopefully our recruiting class is going to be strong. How do you feel about your current recruiting class?
I'm so excited about it. And so we've got a couple more Canadians to join Katie on the roster. So that's good. We've got a player coming from Alberta, Nova Scotia, and then Ontario as well. And they're in grades 9, 10, and 11. So that's something about boarding school is it's not just coming in as a grade 9 kid. You can come in different entry points, or do a post-grad year. So that's something unique with our offering too.
And I often talk about players like there's hockey back in Newfoundland, if you're a strong grade 9 player, you often don't need to leave Newfoundland or leave where you are. You can play under 15 boys. You can play. There's a lot more options at that U15 level. And then that U15 level to that U18, there's a big transition from female to male. And
Okay.
it's like the testosterone kicks in, you know, and it's that's one big thing. Like, I don't feel a whole lot of girls can play under 18 AAA guys as players. Scouting
Right.
for under 18 AAA hockey here in Canada, you don't see a whole lot of female players playing top line minutes or at all. I mean, I can't think of in the last 4 years working for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, I have not seen a female skater. Now, I have seen a female goalie, Raya Stewart. She's committed to Wisconsin. Very, very good goalie, but you just don't see a whole lot of players playing U18 as female. So that grade 10 like is often a sweet spot. You probably get a lot of or an influx of female players at that age. Would I be right in saying that?
Definitely. And then some of the unique piece that you can do with a boarding school is you can repeat a grade or reclass. And so that's something that even, I can get away. I always have some grade 9 kids on my team because I think it's important for kids to grow up in the program and for the older kids to make sure that they're being good role models and mentors to the younger kids coming up. But I can get away coaching girls hockey of there's a little bit less variance where if you look at the boys hockey, a grade 9 kid could be, a foot shorter and 50 pounds lighter than a senior, where there's a little less variability with the girls. And, it can be a push for a grade 9 kid to come right in, but, they certainly have opportunities to learn and to grow.
We are on the topic of recruiting. Let's
Yes.
ask three things. So they can be anything. They can be on ice traits. They can be off ice traits. Three things that when you're sorting through the list of hundreds of people who apply to go to a school like Berkshire, what are three things that are really sticking out to you? Three things that you really look for in a prospective player or prospective student?
Absolutely. Great question. So first and foremost, I want good kids who want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. I want team players who, not just of the hockey team, but want to be at Berkshire because it's a special place. So kids who want to be involved in that. Good kids who work hard. That's something that you've got to have the intrinsic motivation of. You've got so many resources here and I tell my kids all the time, if you want to get on the ice at 6:30, great, I can be there, but I will not wake you up. So that's definitely something, the intrinsic and working hard. Um, and then ultimately, I think I might have said three in there. Oh, I guess the last thing, big part of this is just for kids who really want to chase that dream. I think it's really important that you do the outreach. Your parents can help, but ultimately this is going to be your life and the decision that you're going to be living. So I think it's really important for me to hear from the kid too.
I like that your list included a lot of things that were off the ice. And a lot of those things weren't like, oh, they can score 50 for us in the season, or they skate like Connor McDavid, or they skate like, Murray Philippe Poulin. Like
Mhm.
you're looking for things that I try to tell this to kids all the time. The off ice is most of the time what a school is asking me about. The
Right.
on ice, they're already pretty comfortable with where they feel you could fit in their lineup and what you do well and what you don't do well. But they want to know the behind the scenes. They want to know, okay, does that person have great practice habits? Do they cheat on every single drill? Do they get upset if they get scored on? What's the body language like? And I keep saying this to younger players that are U13, U15, and U18. Like, that's something that good programs look for. And I can almost guarantee you that Lisa Marshall looks for those things. And she just mentioned a few things like waking up on time if you're coming to a 6:30 session. I did
Right.
a podcast with a guy by the name of Ryan Stacy. I'll put the link down below in the description when I post the video. And one of the biggest things I said, the differentiator in players, good and great or great and elite, is like, are they on time? And are they the ones that are initiating to the parents saying, Mom, I got it, let's go. Like, wake
Right.
me. I'm waking the parents up, not the parents are coming in and saying, hey, it's time to go to hockey. And you're like, okay, sounds good. And it's the kids that are knocking on the parents' door. Come on, let's go. Like, I got to get to practice early at 5:30 in the morning. Those are the ones. And the ones that stay the extra 10 minutes, if they got the extra 10 minutes, those are the types of players that end up really growing. And I think that's a big differentiator between, okay, that player is going to play maybe high school and that's it, or they move on to Division 3 or Division 1 or one of those higher levels.
Right. I mean, my goal, I having left coaching college to come back to coach prep school. Like my goal is I'm confident I can make a kid a better hockey player. And the differentiator of playing college hockey, it's all those little things that you just mentioned. And that's something too of here at Berkshire, I live on campus. So when I speak to a college coach, they're asking me, what are they like? Are they good kids? Are they, how are they in the dorm? Because some of my hockey players live in the same building that I live in, so it really does. There are a lot of great hockey players out there, but if you're not willing to be a good teammate, that could be what separates you from getting an opportunity to play college hockey.
Let's talk about beyond college hockey now. We have
Right.
a PWHL league now. We have a legitimate professional women's league, which I'm going to be completely real and honest here in this video. I never thought I would see a day where players were making a living wage playing
Mm-hmm.
female hockey, but I absolutely love it. I watch the games. Even my mom, she doesn't even like hockey. She's like, I want to watch because Maggie Connors, I know her mother, and my mom watched the opening game of the PWHL period to period, like bell to bell, post to post. And I'm like, my mom would never even watch my own games. She's watching female hockey. Well, I'm
Cool.
not kidding you either. And I'm like, Mom, are you like, is something wrong with you? Like today, like, look what's going on here today.
Sure.
So, what do you think of the PWHL? And do you think that this is a great thing for female hockey?
It's incredible. I think the time is right now for women's hockey, and it's so. I mean, I dreamed of growing up and playing pro hockey, and had maybe a couple of opportunities if I wanted to, and then it wouldn't have been a livable wage. And now I do have, as you mentioned, I've got a player that I coached in high school who's already played her college experience, and she got drafted and is currently playing for New York in the PW. And so she doesn't have to work at Home Depot or anything. Like she's a hockey player. And so to see that and to see someone who's and a lot of kids that I've played with too, like it's it's surreal, but it's incredible, and I'm so excited for what it's turning into, and for these little girls too to say like, I want to. They don't have to rate. I want to play in the NHL when I grow up, like I did. They could say I want to play in the PW, and I think it's only going to get stronger. I think it's awesome.
No, and I think they really did it right this year. I wrote an article about why I liked it, and I'll put that article link in the description of this video below, so you want to check that out. But one of the
Cool.
major things was I thought that they did a really good job of branding the league and also the timing. Like they didn't think, okay, let's just go head on with the NHL, start the exact same week, end the same time. It's like, you know what, New Year's Day, what a great day to start, because what are we doing New Year's Day? After I eat turkey, I'm
Right.
half asleep on the couch, just not up to a whole lot because nothing's open. It's a great day to just drop the league. And in my opinion, the quality of the hockey has been very good. And the games to me now are starting to converge with the male game. You don't see nearly any open ice hockey hitting in male
Right.
game. If it is, the guy's getting a $50,000 suspension. So the games now, it's more like it's contact along the walls, it's angling, it's smart forechecking, and like there's a lot of battles. Like there's net front battles. Like it's mean, it's competing. You got to compete for every inch of your ice, no different than you do in the male game.
For sure. It's and the atmosphere of those games, it's electric. It's yeah. I guess I'm fumbling over words because it's just pretty indescribable. It's really special. Cool.
You were just up to Utica. How was it?
That's something cool too. I was talking to my husband at the game, because at Worlds in Utica, I had super lucky. I got two kids who were representing Czech, in that tournament, so it was really special to see them compete on that stage. But he had said to me, he was like, the NHL could take a page out of the book because the PW put a pause so that these women could play for their national teams at Worlds. And so it was just, maybe they'll get back to that. We'll see. But it was incredible to be able to drive 2 hours to go check out the World Championships.
And
Congrats,
to
Canada.
elaborate on your, oh yeah, but again, overtime game, those games can go either way.
Hey,
And I mean, but the gap and the disparity between the countries now, back say 10 years ago, when Canada would, or US would play Finland or Sweden or whoever is from Scandinavia, they would beat them 20-0.
right.
Oh, Czech, that was 4-0. That's not a
Exactly.
write-off, right? I mean, that's like pretty tight. So you're starting to see like the other countries, which will make it a lot better because you look at World Juniors.
Right.
Everybody here in Canada, if you don't watch World Juniors, you're not cool. Like, I mean, it's here. It is a big deal. New Year's Eve, you are watching World Juniors. Like, the
Right.
party is centered around Canada playing, hopefully USA in that game. Probably our biggest rival now is the US, and US definitely Canada border battle. It makes it more exciting when you have other auxiliary teams that are good too. It's not just a foregone conclusion that you're going to see Canada and the US in the finals anymore. Finland might sneak in the future. Czech. I mean, these countries are developing. What do you think about that?
I think it's progress, and I think the parity is great for the overall game, for the women's game, for the men, like for the game of hockey. And I love that some of these countries are that otherwise wouldn't have opportunity for hockey teams. They're starting to come out of it with really strong and developing programs too. I mean, even Czech and Finland, like Czech won, and then now Finland won this year. So just to have a little bit less unpredictability is a great thing for the game.
We're getting into April, where I mean, Masters month. Everybody loves this time of the year. You're starting to get into hockey playoffs. Who would you be? Actually, let's go. Who would be your pick to win the PWHL, and who will be your pick to win the NHL?
Uh, um, who is my pick? I know you post about this on Instagram all the time. Um, Controversial for PW, but I think who I've been impressed with Boston. I watched a couple of their games. They've been really creative and a lot of good goal scorers there. So maybe Boston for PW, we'll see. Maybe one of the Canadian teams, they're crushing. And then NHL. I love NHL because you don't have to know right away. I just like to root for the good teams.
My mom could pick an NHL pool and beat me at it. Like
Oh, really?
she could be like, "Oh, what are those socks blue? Oh, they got blue socks. Yeah, I'll pick a couple players on that." And me, they're like with the analytics out, and I somehow managed to like everybody's out in the first round. So what do I know? I know nothing. I actually did a podcast with a guy, just a random guy, wrote me one day, said, "Do you want to do a podcast?" It was last
Cool.
Stanley Cup Finals, 4 teams. I picked the wrong teams. It was like Carolina and somebody, and then Vegas and Dallas. I picked Dallas and I picked Carolina, and like both teams got swept. So what do I know? I know absolutely nothing. And this year, my cup pick would be Dallas. I've been on the Stars recently. You don't get
Uh-huh.
to see them on the East Coast much, but they've got a good team, and I think that they've got enough depth. Like if their top line gets shut down, they're not just relying on Robertson and company. They've got some depth, and I've got to go with my girl Maggie Connors. If you're watching this, Maggie, I got a feeling you are. Then I'm
Let's
still going to pick
go.
you. I'm picking you, Maggie. I'm picking Toronto, and that's where I'm at with all this. So we're going Dallas and Toronto. Now Toronto finally winning something.
I mean, so I was raised to be a Leafs fan, but that, 67 is a long time ago, before we were born. And then I've got family in Edmonton. I thought maybe last year was their year. Should I say Edmonton this year? I don't know.
I'm
I
a
just
Tampa fan.
I
I
root
I
for good
mean
hockey, you know?
I'm a Tampa fan. We've
Cool.
won that much recently that if we do, it's all gravy at this point. To me, it's just like we're playing with house money if I'm at the casino because we've had a really successful run. And I actually did a video about Nikita Kucherov, and some people were really upset with his All-Star game antics. You know what, man? That guy's playing on like an artificial back at this point.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that in the playoffs and some of these things, they don't get a whole lot of break. And guys play with broken ribs, they play with broken legs. And you're like, oh, he's not performing. How come he's not performing? He's just barely trying to stay in the game. Winning
For
the
sure.
Stanley Cup, in my opinion, you probably agree with me on this, Lisa, is the hardest trophy to win in professional sports, bar none.
It's the hardest sport to bet on. So I think so. I think there's correlation.
Do you do any sports betting?
No, no, but my husband does. So I like hear it, but it's not my vibe. Math's not my thing.
I'm not a big thing. I'm not big on this betting. My buddies do. My
Yeah.
buddies are like into it all the time. They're always on the group chat. Like, it just have a group chat called Poor Friendship, and the boys are talking about, oh, I did this bet, that bet, and I'm like, man, I'll stick to the stock market. I'll do my betting there, I guess. So, yep, that's it for me today. That's it.
Cool.
You know what? I'm going to cut off once we start talking about betting. I don't want to get anybody in trouble here. Talking about gambling. I'd say there's some type of NEPSAC regulation. We don't need you suspended for next season.
Coaches are good. Coaches are good. Kids can't, it's good.
You're like the next Pete Rose, betting on Berkshire to win next year.
I mean, why not? Let's give us, let's root for the Bears.
Do we want to have a friendly bet here? Is that legal? I think that could be within the NEPSAC regulations.
Well, I feel like as long as we're betting the same way, let's just have a good year. It's going to be a great year for the Bears.
High fives if the Bears win.
Okay, let's go.
I'm on the Bears. I mean, Williston, did they win this year?
They lost in the championship to Nobles. Nobles.
Oh, wow. Okay, Williston, 2-time NEPSAC champs. Now we've got Nobles. So Nobles at the top of the mountain. Let's see if you guys can knock them off next season. I can almost guarantee you that I will be watching. Your stream is unbelievable, by the way, at Berkshire. Thumbs up. And you know what? The whole league does a great job. I will give NEPSAC a lot of credit. Each school has their own stream. It seems like when you log onto their page, but all of them are clear. All of them are good. Sometimes you get announcers, sometimes you don't. The announcer to me is a great piece. I don't think you guys do have announcers though.
Every now and then we might, and we'll have a program with like our sports information where sometimes if there's a kid who wants to do an internship, they can learn how to do it. So sometimes.
Cool. Well, if you ever need if I ever need to channel my inner Bob Cole, feel free to give me a call.
Hey, you're ever in the area, come on down. We'd love to have you.
Listen, if I'm in the area, I'm taking you on and Katie Hurley on ping pong because everybody knows that I'm the champ. I'm the champ at Berkshire. I could take on any of those people at Berkshire, any students, any faculty, bring it on.
All right, we'll set up a bracket for when you're here.
All right, Lisa, thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule. I will post information about Berkshire just to their website, to Lisa's social media, and to the Berkshire Athletics down in the description of this video below. Thank you very much for watching, and we're gone.